Greetings, brothers and sisters. Whether the algorithm of the higher council has brought you to me, or you come from our previous encounter, I welcome you. Today, I will read to you the first book of the Warp Walkers. Before the chapter, there was but only one true Warp Walker. The name was not given from his ventures into the warp, but rather what he obtained from it. Praxis was to cease for countless cycles, but what gave him life once more would change the foundation of what the warp meant for mankind. Today, we will learn of the origins of the Warp Walkers and how one World Eater brought about the concept of the first step towards changing the great game. But before we begin, I will give the disclaimer once more, just in case you have not seen the channel's spotlight video. AI was used to construct images for these stories. The stories themselves were forged by myself, and the voices used are thanks to voice-changing tools. Now, let us begin. Chapter 1. In the endless dark of the warp, where time burns and thought unravels, lay the corpse of a fallen Astartes, a World Eater, forgotten, drifting among the broken, the lost, and the damned. For centuries uncounted, his body had remained entombed in the living madness of the immaterium. His armor, once proud, now a blistered cage of rust and demonic corrosion. His flesh, little more than a scarred offering to the god who had consumed his mind long ago. But something stirred the warp that day. Something the Four did not foresee. A shape, wrapped in ribbons of controlled warp light, descended through the storm. A being walked the tides where none but gods dared tread. Her eyes, twin embers of focused purpose, gazed upon the ruin before her.
At last.
Her voice was impossible, soft, warm, human. Words that should not exist within the great madness. She extended her hand, and for the first time in the warp's history, the current bent backward. Rage and terror recoiled. The impossible became still. Energy bloomed around the corpse, a slow, radiant pulse that devoured the corruption clinging to it. What began as a whisper grew into a storm of cleansing light, threads of gold and violet intertwining in patterns no mortal mind could understand. The fallen warrior's armor split and reformed, not into the blood-red hue of the World Eaters, nor the tarnished brass of Khorne's favor. The crimson was nearly stripped away, leaving the base metal bare, half of it glimmering with a faint violet sheen. The other side, ghostly pale silver white, cleansed of taint. His skin, once scarified and burned from centuries of mutation, reformed to that of a pure Astartes once more, unmarked, unbroken. Even his blood ran clean again. He gasped, a deep, choking breath, a sound of rebirth. The being, Laraxi, stood silent as the once dead Astartes rose shakily to one knee, his body trembling from the agony of restoration. He coughed hard, clutching his chest as breath-filled lungs that had not drawn air in an age. Then realization struck. His eyes snapped open, his hand shot to the hilt at his belt, but found no weapon.
By the throne. What have I done?
Memory flooded him. Blood, betrayal, chains. The skulls of brothers, the laughter of the blood god. He staggered to his feet, stepping backward as he spotted the cloaked figure that had watched him in silence.
You, creature of the warp, I will not be claimed again by your wretched kind.
Laraxi raised her hand in calm refusal.
Peace, Astartes. I do not seek to claim you. You have been dead for many cycles.
He didn't lower his stance. His voice was steel.
Identify yourself, anomaly. What foul intent brings you to me?
Laraxi's eyes burned brighter beneath the hood.
I am Laraxi, weaver of fear and the war. Your Imperium would call me a Daemon Prince, but I am not such a thing. I am the one the ruinous powers once called a sibling, but no longer.
He scoffed, hand tightening into a fist.
Then I will end you. I will not fall to your lies again.
Without flinching, she reached into her robe. He tensed, ready to strike, until light filled his vision. A single radiant feather rested upon her fingertips. Golden light poured from it, light he had not seen since before the heresy. His breath caught.
This cannot be. I know this light.
Laraxi stepped closer, voice steady, kind.
You feel it because it is truth. If my words cannot convince you, then let him speak.
She took his hand, scarred and trembling, and placed the feather upon his palm. Warmth flooded his body. Every scar, every sin, every death washed away beneath the light of the Emperor. The world turned white. He was no longer in the warp. Before him rose the golden throne. The Emperor's form sat distant, blurred, as though glimpsed through smoke and water. Yet his presence filled everything. The warrior fell to one knee, tears he hadn't shed in centuries stinging his eyes.
My lord, I am unworthy of your gaze,
The Emperor raised one hand, a simple gesture, but it silenced even the echoes of eternity.
At ease, my son. There is no need for worship. There is only work to be done.
His voice was weary, infinite, and yet human.
Laraxi has spoken with me. Her intentions are pure. She stands with mankind against the Four. She is a sibling of them, yes, but she does not serve the warp any longer. The great game nears its end, and I grow weary.
A pause hung like a tomb.
Your brothers forgive you. Those slain by your hand forgive you. And I forgive you. We all make foolish mistakes, my son. What you will see next will ensure that you never make it again.
Then came the vision. An ocean of skulls, worlds burning, the cries of children echoing through blackened stars. Humanity's end. When it faded, the warrior collapsed through his knees, shaking. Laraxi's voice brought him back to the present.
Now you see the end of man. So tell me, Astartes, what will you do now?
He clenched his fists, fury and purpose intertwining.
After all of our suffering, to rot away in such a manner, I will not allow such folly.
The feather dissolved into golden dust, seeping into his armor's core, vanishing from sight, but never from being. Laraxi rested a hand upon his shoulder.
Then come with me. The great game has gone on long enough.
As she turned, his eyes caught something glinting in the void, half buried beneath the ashen bone. The weapon he once wielded, a thunderhammer. He reached for it, his gauntlet closing around the haft. The weapon hung to life, not in rage, but in recognition. He lifted it to his shoulder, following Laraxi into the shifting horizon of the deep warp.
The game is over.
Storm around them eased into quiet. A crimson haze of madness faded, replaced by a soft, crystalline glow that seemed to bend the very air. He stood now on a surface of shifting reflections, every step creating ripples of light that revealed echoes of himself in 1,000 forms. Some were monstrous and scarred, others noble and unburdened. All of them, him. He turned slowly, eyes narrowing.
What is this place? Where have you brought me?
Laraxi moved ahead, her shape wavering like a candle flame in a mirrored chamber.
This is no place of torment. You stand within the sanctum of refraction, a realm built in defiance of the warp's dominion. It is where the broken are reborn.
Reborn? You speak as if I were a saint.
Not a saint, a survivor.
As they walked, the mirrored corridors opened into a vast hall. The light dimmed, and then, to his disbelief, he saw them. Dozens of Astartes, clad in armor unlike any he had ever seen, stood sparring or speaking in low tones. Their markings were unmistakable. The lightning claws of the Night Lords, the sorcerous crests of the Thousand Suns, the Hydra symbols of the Alpha Legion, and more besides. Traitors, renegades, all gathered here unarmed, save for purpose. He stopped cold, voice echoing with disgust.
What blasphemy is this?
Laraxi said nothing, only gestured for him to watch. A Night Lord instructed 1,000 Sun in sword technique, speaking calmly, almost like brothers. A word bearer knelt beside an Iron Warrior, both discussing scripture and strategy as equals, and above them, etched in light upon the mirrored ceiling, a phrase shivered, a creed written in the ancient tongue of Terra. Through the Emperor, we unite. He could not speak for a long while. His mind, trained to slaughter these same warriors, rebelled against what his eyes showed him.
This is impossible.
This is necessary. These are the reformed, those who turned from the ruinous powers and chose to suffer redemption instead of power. They are not forgiven by the Imperium, nor welcomed by their kin, but they are not lost.
He looked again. True, he looked. He sought no madness in their eyes, no daemon marks upon their souls. Their armor bore scars, yes, but their auras were clean. Each one was a flame rekindled from corruption. He stepped closer to a group passing by. A former word bearer inclined his head respectfully.
Another soul reborn. You are welcome here, brother.
The word brother struck something deep within him. He turned to Laraxi.
What purpose binds them? What could make such foes unite?
Faith. Not in gods or lords, but in the Emperor once more. In the dream that was the Imperium, before they drowned in blood and madness.
He stared, conflicted, then clenched his gauntleted fists.
I am no faith-bearer. My hands have slain too many to ever hold such hope.
Laraxi's gaze softened.
Then perhaps they were cleansed so that yours could join them.
He turned sharply to face her, ready to protest, but the light around them began to shift. Mirrored Hall trembled. and a wind-like breath swept through the sanctum. From the far end of the chamber, wings of sapphire and amethyst unfurled, their edges glimmering with reflected starlight. A tall figure stepped forward, robes flowing like the night sky, each feather moving with sentient grace. A lord of change. The other reformed immediately bowed their heads. The newcomer's voice rolled through the hall like music beneath thunder.
Laraxi.
Xerxes. He has awoken.
Xerxes, luminous eyes fixed on the newly risen Astartes. The warrior met that gaze, unflinching, though wary.
So this is him, the soul whose fire even the warp could not extinguish.
He took a step forward, and every mirror in the sanctum flickered, showing visions of lone Astartes carving through demons, standing defiant, even in damnation.
I can feel the echo of corn still lingering. But it burns now with purpose, not hunger. Laraxi has done well.
The warrior growled low.
If this is mockery, I will.
Peace, Astartes. You are among equals here. We have all walked through hell.
He paused, spreading one wing slightly, as if to salute.
Your name was once whispered across 1,000 battlefields and cursed upon twice as many. But now, it shall be spoken with reverence once more.
He raised his claw hand. Light pouring through the mirrored ceiling like sunlight breaking through storm clouds.
Praxis, the Warp Walker, the name given to one whose soul endured the storm of the deep.
The reform around him bowed in acknowledgement. Laraxi stepped beside him, her voice low and proud.
Your path begins here. You are not the first to rise from corruption, but you will be the one who learns what to do with it.
Praxis looked down at his armor. Not fully crimson, but mostly purified. Some still carrying the taint of the deep warp. His skin beneath the plates was unblemished, his humanity restored. He held his thunderhammer aloft, the mirrored light reflecting across the chamber. The violet and silver burning like twin suns.
Then so it begins. If I am to walk the warp again, it shall be to unite those who have lost their way.
Laraxi smiled faintly.
Then walk, Praxis. Walk the warp and change its fate forever.
Chapter 2. Praxis sat upon a large chair of translucent crystal, its surface unnaturally warm beneath his armor. His thunderhammer rested beside it. Silence consumed the chamber, save for the whispering hum of the sanctum itself, a place where the damned were reborn. He was still processing what he had learned. A sanctum, where former traitor Astartes were cleansed, stripped of corruption, freed from the ruinous whispers that once chained their minds. To be given a second chance, a mercy no servitive chaos would ever expect. He cannot bring himself to judge them. He was once the same, a fool for the four. The Emperor's words replayed endlessly within his mind. Had he truly forgiven him? Could such grace be genuine? Perhaps this was Praxis's chance to repay that mercy, to turn absolution into service, and prove that unity and compassion were not weakness, but strength incarnate. He rose, armor glinting faintly in the light of the sanctum. But before he could step forward, a familiar voice rippled beside him.
You wish to enact the Emperor's new plan in haste.
The reformed Lord of Change had appeared at his side. Wings folded, eyes calm, with weary understanding.
Forgive my hesitation, Brother Praxis, but we should not carry this fire into cold atmosphere.
Praxis inclined his head, replying with measured restraint.
I know, Brother Xerxes. But we cannot remain idle in this realm while mankind suffers in the Materium.
It felt strange, calling a Lord of Change brother, yet truth outweighed contradiction. Xerxes gave a slow, thoughtful nod.
Nor can I argue that. But to reveal ourselves to the Empyrean as we are would be catastrophic. Even good intent will be met with purging flame. Come, let us seek counsel with Laraxi and the others. We will see what they think of this.
Together, they entered the great hall of the Sanctum, where Laraxi and the Reformed had gathered. Night Lords, Thousand Sons, Alpha Legionaries, and others long thought lost. At the mention of revealing themselves to the Imperium, voices rose in uproar, some condemning the idea's folly, others arguing that inaction was the greater heresy. Laraxi's voice cut through the turmoil, soft, yet commanding.
Enough. Let them speak.
Xerxes stepped forward first.
Brothers, this question has haunted us for many cycles. Brother Praxis believes we must act, but the time for hiding has ended. Though I share your caution, his conviction deserves voice.
Praxis then stepped into the center of the sanctum.
I know I have not walked these halls long. This place, this unity, is still alien to me. To see you together, side by side, impossible. Once. But is that not our purpose? To make the impossible reality? To see mankind not merely endure, but thrive against odds beyond reason?
He paused, the chamber silent.
That is why I propose this. I alone will return to real space. I will reveal myself to the Imperium and show them what we are, what we have become. I will not endanger you, nor bring the Emperor's wrath upon this sanctum.
The Reformed erupted again, not in rejection, but in outrage at his willingness to bear such a burden alone. Laraxi's presence silenced them once more.
Praxis speaks true. Mankind cannot wait forever while you sharpen blades that may never strike. I stand with his decision. But you, brothers, he must hear your trust.
The Reformed looked to one another, murmuring quietly, for a single voice broke the stillness. A Thousand Sun, his armor faintly shimmering with residual warp light.
Brother Praxis, I see your vision. I fear its cost, but I see the truth of it. You have breathed the purity of life once more. That alone is proof of the Emperor's will. Go, and may he see your action through.
A chorus of voices followed. The Emperor protects, echoing through the sanctum like a hymn. Laraxi and Xerxes repeated it in solemn unison. Praxis bowed his head. He was led to the edge of the sanctum, a shimmering gate of raw light that opened to the rolling chaos of the Immaterium. Xerxes turned to him, his tone almost paternal.
You will be the first reforged to walk the warp again. Are you certain of your path? Do you wish my protection seals to guard your soul?
Praxis shook his head, lifting his hammer.
No, Brother Xerxes. I would enter real space as the man I am now. To wear runes upon my skin once more, even allied ones, would deface my humanity.
Xerxes smiled faintly, an expression rare for his kind.
Then go, brother. Let your conviction be your armor.
Behind him, the Reformed saluted. Some knelt in prayer. Laraxi's voice echoed one final time.
I will be watching, Warp Walker. When you reach real space, I will join you. Let the light of mankind decide what fate awaits.
Praxis turned to face the storm, a realm he once called home, now his proving ground. He gripped his thunderhammer, the weapon's haft humming with restrained fury, and stepped forward, back into the hell he had escaped, back into destiny. Praxis stepped once more into the deep warp, its abyssal, untamed energy washing over him like an ocean of knives. The purity field of Laraxi no longer surrounded him, her protection gone, and the warp's hatred of sanctified presence tore at his flesh and soul alike. Pain burned through his nerves, yet he pressed onward. The deep warp loathed him, but little did it know, Praxis did belong here now. Each step through the formless storm was agony. Then, without warning, an unseen force struck him from behind. Immense, irresistible. It hurled him through the chaos like a comet, flinging him from the black depths into the brighter, shimmering expanse of the lighter warp, where reality and unreality entwined. He landed hard upon a vast fragment of floating rock, one of the many islands adrift in the Immaterium's endless sea. Around him lay the corpses of the lost, souls and bodies torn apart and half reformed by warp energies, and the transparent silhouettes of daemons began to gather. They sensed prey. They were wrong. This was no broken wanderer. This was the Emperor's flame, reforged in defiance of their gods. The daemons circled, taunting him with promises of failure and damnation, their shrill laughter echoing across the expanse. Praxis only chuckled, shaking his head.
You reek of cowardice. All of you.
His mockery was deliberate, bait for their arrogance. The first daemon lunged, eager to silence him, and was met by the thunder of his hammer. Bone, flesh, and unreal light exploded outward as the creature was erased from existence. The others surged forward, a tide of raging claws. A Praxis moved through them like a storm incarnate.
Your gods are dust in a realm of lies. Fated to nothing.
Each daemon he struck down seemed to feed his strength, the corruption drawn into him and purified, somehow converted into physical might. Even the greater daemons took notice, their baleful eyes narrowing at this blasphemy. They roared as one, a sound that could shatter mortal minds. But Praxis did not falter. He met them mid-charge, hammer blazing with psychic fire. He moved faster, struck harder, and for each monster slain, the warp itself trembled. The infinity of the Immaterium meant nothing to him now. Their numbers were meaningless. Their endless resurrection only a guarantee of eternal suffering at his hand. Yet he did not fight for vengeance. His purpose was beyond that. He fought to reach real space. And then he saw it. A wound in the fabric of the warp, a thin veil where reality blit through. The breach shimmered like molten glass. Seizing the chance, Praxis did not rush. He walked, calm, unhurried, defiant. His lack of fear enraged the demons further, their shrieks turning into screams of frustration as he advanced. Their fury met only death in his wake. He reached the breach, placed a gauntleted hand upon it, focusing his essence to prevent the incursion that would doom any mortal world he touched. With one last glare at the legions of madness behind him, Praxis allowed the warp's current to take him. The breach consumed him in light and silence. The daemons were left howling in impotent fury, though even they felt something new stirring within their hearts. Fear. The rift split the skies of Eugraxin Prime like a wound reopening in reality. From its burning light, a lone figure fell. Praxis. Plunged through the veil, the searing turbulence of the warp giving way to a sudden, blinding stillness. For the briefest moment, he felt relief. A cosmic exhalation that washed across his being. Real space. The dimension his soul had ached for through eternity. His body slackened, falling freely, a sensation of gravity and air almost sacred after the suffocating chaos of the warp. Then his instincts returned. Praxis braced, adjusting his descent, crashing into the surface below with a thunderous impact that sent dust and shattered rock into the air. The crater he formed burned with residual warp fire that faded into shimmering embers. Around him, the world roared. Artillery fire, a screech of Tyranids, the thunder of Las rifles. The war for Eudraxan Prime raged on. Nearby, the battered remnants of the Cadian 904th struggled to hold their line. Captain Hadrian barked orders amidst the cacophony, the swarm pressing from all sides. Auspex readings flickered with new data, a massive energy signature, non-Xenos, non-mechanical.
Sir, it's Astartes pattern.
Hadrian turned just in time to see a figure rising from a smoking crater, a giant clad in half-bared ceramite and half-scorched plating. One hand gripping a massive thunderhammer. Astartes. But the sky had torn open above them. Warpborn? Loyalist? Traitor? The captain gave the order.
Guns on him, all of you!
Cadians closed in cautiously, rifles raised, their hearts pounding as much from awe as fear. To face chaos and Tyranids together was certain death. Yet this unknown Marine stood calm, motionless, the air around him humming with residual energy. His eyes met theirs through a cracked helm lens.
Identify yourself. Are you of the Emperor's sons, or Chaos filth?
Praxis did not move for a long moment. Then his voice came, deep and steady, untainted by the warp's madness.
I am Praxis. I am no enemy of the Imperium.
He turned his gaze across the battlefield, the ruined landscape, swarming bioforms. His tone carried neither arrogance nor supplication.
I see your situation is dire. There is little time for debate. I offer my strength, Captain, to you and to your men.
Hadrian hesitated, lowering his weapon fractionally. Stroops followed.
Very well. You speak as one of the Emperor's own. Perhaps a lost son? We'll take whatever aid the throne provides. We welcome your hand, my lord.
Praxis grimaced faintly beneath his helm. That title, Lord, cut against his nature. He felt he did not deserve such a title. He looked to the captain, voice low but firm.
Please, Captain. Call me Brother Praxis. I know what your doctrine demands, but here, we all fight for the Emperor, and for mankind. I will not stand above you, but beside you.
It was an odd request, nearly heretical even, yet something in his tone silenced argument. The captain inclined his head, almost reverently.
As you wish, Brother Praxis.
Hadrian's eyes flicked across the Marine's armor. Half polished, half charred. It reeked faintly of ozone, not corruption. There was no sickness in his aura, only strength.
Were you the one who fell through the warp tear?
I was, but fear not, Captain. Whatever that realm tried to make of me, it failed.
For a moment, there was silence between them, broken only by the distant shrieks of approaching Tyranids. The men of Cadia, exhausted, bloodied, demoralized, felt something stir. Hope. It came unbidden, like a breath drawn after drowning.
Your bravery honors the Emperor, Brother Hadrian. Stand ready.
Hadrian's pulse steadied. Presence of this lone Astartes, this stranger, rekindled something near forgotten. Faith.
Form up. The swarm comes. We hold the line with Brother Praxis.
From the north and west came the howling tide, the swarm converging in a mass of claws and fangs. And amidst the crumbling defense lines of Eudraxan Prime, a fallen son of the Imperium braced his thunderhammer once more, ready to prove his purpose reborn. As Praxis saw the approaching Tyranid forces, he had almost forgotten about them. The reminder hit him like a hammer to the chest, stirring a surge of renewed fury. Another foolish species, hell-bent on the extinction of mankind and life itself for some selfish hunger. What the Tyranids did not know was that mankind too burned with a hunger to destroy those that dared to harm or even threaten their species. Praxis stepped forward beside Captain Hadrian, who raised his last pistol and roared, "For Cadia, for the Emperor." That roar ignited something within the weary Cadians. To hear a space marine, an angel of death, honor Cadia alongside the Emperor himself was a respect they could scarcely fathom. Their gratitude showed not in words, but in steel and fire, as they fought with newfound vigor and fury. Praxis tore through the swarm with unmatched might. Tyranid warriors, raveners, even lurking lictors found no purchase against him. When two Cartifexes thundered forward to crush the Imperial line, he met them head-on, hammer cracking bone and chitin alike. Every swing set shockwaves across the field. Every strike a sermon to the Emperor's will. He fought like a beast reborn, taking blows meant for Cadians, shielding them from barbed projectiles and talons. Captain Hadrian's doubts faded, replaced with awe. The Space Marine, whoever he truly was, fought not as a commander, as a brother in arms. The hive mind, sensing the defiance of its prey, sent stronger and stronger waves. Broods of Tyranid monstrosities crashing against the human defense. Still, the line held. Then came the earth-shattering roars of Bio-Titans, two of them, followed by a looming hive tyrant, their sematic presence darkening the sky. The tyrant lingered, letting its titans soften the defenses before it struck. Praxis did not wait. With thunderous purpose, he charged. His hammer struck the first Bio-Titan's leg, shattering into shards of bone and ichor, his shockwave turning nearby gaunts into mist. Another swing brought the second low, its massive body collapsing under its own weight. He finished them both with brutal precision, crushing their skulls with echoing slams. Even his enhanced form began to show strain, however. His breaths ragged, armor slick with gore, but he did not falter. Then came the Hive Tyrant's screech, a psychic roar that tore through the storm and flame. Praxis stood atop the corpse of a fallen Titan, staring down at the creature. Two apex predators, one duel to define the field. Around them, Acadians continued their desperate battle, watching as Praxis advanced toward the Hive Tyrant. Even the Mimas Xenos beast seemed to recognize his strength. Chapter 3. Before Praxis took his stand against the tyrant, he felt the familiar warmth grace his body once more. From a tear in the heavens, small and precise, a feather descended. He thought for sure it had stayed with him. But perhaps Laraxi had kept hold of it, just in case. It drifted through the smoke-choked sky, shimmering with faint warp white as if a divine relic had fallen from eternity itself. Even the Cadians stopped to watch its descent, their eyes drawn to the impossible serenity it carried. It landed softly into the open palm of Praxis. The Laraxi joined him in secret, bringing the Relic of Hope once more. Perhaps. But that question would wait until Eugraxin Prime was secure. He gently slipped the feather into the seam between his armored gorget and chestplate, where it rested as if anchored to his very soul.
Emperor, guide my fist.
Praxis spoke the words with a solemn reverence before stepping forward, his stance steady as the Hive Tyrant advanced. Then the duel began. The world itself trembled beneath their clash. The hive mind, perceiving Praxis as a dire threat, poured its will into the tyrant, feeding it endless streams of biomass and psychic vigor. The creature grew ever more formidable, its strikes quickening, its wounds inane faster than before. Praxis fought with unfathomable fury, his every roar clashing with the tyrant's in a contest of raw dominance. Around them, the Cadians fought on, driven by Captain Hadrian's command and the sight of the Space Marine locked in divine battle. The swarm was pushed back, inch by inch, a human determination and Astartes' might alike. The duel was an orchestra of devastation. Each strike of Praxis' slender hammer sent shockwaves through the ground, shattering the bones of lesser beasts. Yet, even one such as he could feel fatigue gnawing at his limbs. His guard faltered for an instant. An instant the tyrant did not waste. With a savage swing, it tore the hammer from his grip. Praxis fell back, locking his gauntlets against the tyrant's talons in a desperate struggle. The ground cracked beneath their weight as he pushed back, his armor screaming under the pressure. Even the Hive Mind's tension wavered, its power stretched thin across a dying swarm. The tyrant's aiming gaze met Praxis' lenses, cold, focused hatred, meeting a defiant will forged in the crucible of war.
Source of strength you rely on is fleeting. They will all be turned to dust.
The tyrant answered with renewed ferocity, slashing again and again until its talons pierced his guard. Praxis staggered, his balance failing. Captain Hadrian saw the Astartes falter and refused to let the one who had fought beside his men fall.
Cover me!
He roared, charging through the carnage, lasgun fire crackling around him. He broke through the Tyranid ranks with a melter rifle in hand, sprinting without fear. The weapon screamed with heat as he unleashed volley after volley into the tyrant's side, drawing its fury away from Praxis. But the effort was short-lived. The Hive Tyrant, enraged, turned and cleaved the captain in two with a single, effortless swing. Praxis watched as the mortal who had fought with such courage fell. For an instant, the battle was silent in his mind. He had failed to protect the man who had stood beside him, failed the purpose he had sworn before the Emperor's light. And then, from within that despair, came the laughter, a mocking, echoing chorus from beyond the veil. The laughter of the ruinous powers, delighting in his agony. Something broke within him, and something greater awakened. The wave of warp light erupted from him in all directions, a tempest of radiance and hate. The Hive Tyrant was thrown back, its blade tearing free from Praxis' body. The very Hive Mind itself faltered under the pressure of the unleashed fury. For the first time in his existence, the great devourer hesitated. Praxis' wounds began to close, warp light spilling from his chest. The feather, now burning through the seams of his armor, pulsed with holy radiance. The Emperor's judgment seemed to course through his veins. Though it was more complicated than that. The tyrant staggered, attempting to gather its scattered will. Retreat. The Hive Mind whispered the unthinkable. Retreat. Praxis gave no such mercy. He seized his hammer once more and surged forward, his speed impossible. The air screaming in his wake. His war cry tore through the clouds. When the hammer met the tyrant's chest, the Cadians swore. The ground shook as though from a nuclear bombardment. The creature's body shattered, chitin, bone, its sinew tore asunder by divine wrath. The hammer itself split apart from the force of the impact, fragments glowing like fallen meteors. Praxis did not stop. With nothing but his fists, he continued his assault, every blow a manifestation of rage and purpose intertwined. The Hive Tyrant, empowered by the Hive Mind itself, regenerated as quickly as it was torn apart. But regeneration only prolonged its torment. Every rebirth invited another beating, another defiance of the Void's will. Khorne himself would have been envious of such fury, but this was not his offering. This was not for the Blood God. This was for the Emperor, and for every soul consumed by the swarm. Praxis struck until the Hive Tyrant was nothing more than a pulped ruin. The ground beneath him was a crater of ichor and shadowstone. Around him, the surviving Cadians watched, horrified, reverent, and silent. They had seen the wrath of mankind, given form. The hive mind recoiled. Across the system, the great devourer felt something it had never known. Fear. And for the first time in its internal hunger, it commanded a full retreat. The remaining battleships turned from the planet, attempting to flee into the void. Though the hive mind recovered, its hunger overtaking its new instinct, then demanded a regroup instead. The ground war ended in moments. The Tyranitai broke and scattered. Praxis stood amidst the ruin, his armor dripping with ichor. His fury subsided as his gaze fell upon the remains of Captain Hadrian. He knelt beside the fallen mortal, reverently, removing the tattered scarf from his neck, its fabric still adorned with the words of faith and hope. He wrapped it around his own armor, the golden light of the feather dimming, emerging into the fabric.
I will not forget this, Brother Hadrian.
He rose and turned to the surviving Cadians. They looked to him, not as a god, but as a brother forged in the same fire.
Please, honor your captain with the highest commendation and burial worthy of an Astartes. This victory was his.
A sergeant stepped forward, saluting.
Without question, Brother Praxis. But the biofleet above, they're regrouping. What are your orders?
Praxis looked skyward, storm clouds parting to reveal the retreating Tyranid vessels. His gauntlet clenched, power crackling faintly around his arm.
Tend to your wounded and rest. I will deal with them.
The sergeant hesitated. How could one Astartes reach orbit? But Praxis was already walking away, his armor humming with residual warp energy.
Laraxi, I require your aid once more.
Praxis stood among the dying embers of the battlefield, the air thick with the stench of ichor and smoke. The Tyranid swarm still screamed and convulsed beyond the shattered lines. Yet for a moment, silence reigned within his mind. Then, a paradoxal warmth, an impossible, familiar presence. Laraxi was with him. Though unseen by mortal eyes, Praxis could feel her essence radiating from the fold between realities. He spoke without turning.
Laraxi, are you able to grant me transportation aboard the battleships?
Reality rippled. From non-existence itself, she appeared beside him, her silhouette flickering between golden divinity and shadowed impossibility.
I am indeed able. I can focus a portal onto their main vessel, where the synaptic nexus pulses strongest. But resistance will be desperate and heavy.
Praxis gripped the haft of his broken hammer, straightened his stance, and gave a short nod.
I hope so. They will need it.
Laraxi extended her hands, the air around her distorting as she bent the warp to her will. What formed before Praxis was no ordinary rift. It shimmered with a brilliance untainted by corruption, a gateway of pure, radiant energy. The gathered Cadians froze in awe as the impossible unfolded. Praxis had seen it before, but the mortals of the Imperium had not. Some fell to their knees, forming the aquila across their chests. Others whispered silent prayers, their voices trembling as they beheld a warp portal devoid of chaos. A few hardened veterans among them simply stared, uncertain whether they witnessed salvation or sorcery. Without hesitation, Praxis stepped through. The transition was instantaneous, a rush of soundless pressure, and then the stench of alien bile and living flesh. He landed upon the pulsing organic surface of a Tyranid bioship. The air was thick with psychic noise, the entire vessel alive with the hum of the hive mind's will. He could feel it, the pulse of the synaptic nexus deep within, throbbing like a malignant heart. The moment his presence registered, the ship's interior erupted in alarm. Chitinous walls quivered, spore vents opened, and the first wave of defenders came crawling from the living corridors. Warriors, gaunts, shadowed lictors, shrieking in fury. Their psychic coordination wavered briefly, disoriented by the warp storm echoing from Praxis himself, but recovered swiftly under the Nexus's command. It would not matter. Praxis advanced, every step a thunderclap across the loon floor. The first brute fell beneath his fists, his hammer long shattered, but his fury undiminished. His bare hands ripped through armor and bone alike, tearing their essence free as easily as flesh. The ship quaked with each impact. Even the hive mind recoiled from the force of his assault. Bodies piled around him, ichor and warp light pulling into rivers that steamed against the heat of his aura. The Nexus pulsed with agitation, attempting to focus its power. The Praxis was already upon it. He tore through its outer defenses, his roar echoing like a thunderous swarm of vengeance. Far below, Acadians beheld the heavens ignite. The sky shimmered as the bioships faltered in perfect unison, their symmetric resonance shattered. The entire swarm broke formation, thrashing in mindless confusion. Then, one by one, the vessels detonated, their colossal forms bursting into clouds of dissolving bioplasma. What had once been a living fleet of terror became a dying mist, raining down in fading streaks of alien fire. And from above, something fell. Praxis struck the surface like a comet, Earth erupting around him in a shockwave that rattled the nearby defenses. The surviving Cadians rushed to his side, weapons still raised in awe and caution. They found him unmoving, not slain, but unconscious. The strain of back-to-back enhancement surges of some kind in the cessation of battle's adrenaline had finally brought the warrior low. Still, even fallen, he radiated something beyond mortal comprehension. His armor hung faintly with residual energy. The scarf of Captain Hadron bound in his clenched fist, concealing the gilded feather within. The soldiers formed a perimeter, resolute even in exhaustion. Box lines screamed reinforcements were already inbound. Ultramarine signatures, and another code of frequency beneath them. The Inquisition. Chapter 4. As the first pod struck the ground, the survivors braced themselves. From the Ultramarine transports emerged Brother Captain Alphanes and his retinue of veterans, their armor unmarred, their bearing unmistakably noble. From the Inquisition's landers came Interrogator Lord Varen, flanked by stormtroopers in matte black carapace. Even amid the ruin, their arrival felt like judgment itself. The Cadians stiffened to attention, Alphane's helm retracting, revealing a cold precision of an Imperial hero. His gaze fell upon the battlefield, and then upon Praxis.
What transpired here?
The Cadian sergeant stepped forward, saluting with a trembling hand.
My lord, the Xenos were purged by him. He fought like no man I've ever seen. Held the line when all was lost, slew a hive tyrant with his bare hands, and shattered the fleet above through means I can't even begin to explain.
Baron's mechanical eye turned, its lens glowing red as it locked upon the fallen Astartes.
Indeed. His presence is anomalous. The warp signature emanating from him is unstable, potent, but not tainted. Explain how a warrior channels such power still breathes.
Alphane stirred his head slightly, his expression unreadable.
He wears the colors of no chapter, yet the aura that lingers around him is familiar. His armor, it resembles that of World Eaters?
His gauntlet reached out, brushing against the scarf tied across Praxis' fist. The fabric shimmered faintly, a thread of golden light pulsing beneath it. Every sensor and aspect in range flared. The Inquisition's readings lit with impossible data. Warp energy, but pure, holy. The Kaiman had not been recorded since the darkest days of the Horus Heresy. Baron's tone sharpened instantly.
Impossible. No human, No Astartes can manifest such purity from the Immaterium. This reeks of false divinity. Warp sorcery masquerading as faith.
The Acadian sergeant stepped forward again, breaking protocol, his voice fierce with conviction.
With respect, my lord. Your own. I saw him. We all did. He fought for us, bled for us. The Tyranids fell because of him. He prayed to the Emperor before every strike. If this is sorcery, then it's the kind that saved Cadia's sons this day.
Several soldiers murmured in agreement, forming the Aquila over their chests. Althain's gaze remained on the faint golden shimmer now radiating through Praxis's armor. Faint, yet undeniably present.
This light. I've seen it only once, in the relic halls of Macragge. It bears the resonance of the Emperor's touch.
Baron turned sharply.
And you would take that as proof of sanctity, not corruption. Even the ruinous powers can mimic holiness when it suits them.
And you would call the Emperor's own hand a lie, Inquisitor.
The air thickened, not with threat, but with the heavy silence of two Imperial powers colliding. The Ultramarines' honor against the Inquisition's suspicion. The Gaians stood still, hearts pounding, unwilling to breathe lest they draw unwanted wrath. At last, Baron's mechanical gaze shifted toward the fallen form of Praxis once more.
Whether saint or heretic, this warrior's existence demands judgment. He will be taken into custody for examination and classification under Ordo scrutiny.
Althain's gauntlet flexed, the air humming with restrained power.
He will be treated with honor. He fought as one of us, and he saved Imperial lives. If you seek to condemn him, you will do so through proper channels, not execution in the field.
For several tense moments, nothing moved. Then, Baron inclined his head, ever so slightly.
So be it. For now.
Laraxi's unseen presence lingered above them, hidden from every sensor, her voice a whisper across the Immaterium.
Even the Emperor's flame is questioned by those who live in its light.
Acadian survivors stood at solemn attention as the Ultramarine, apothecaries, and servitors lifted the motionless form of Praxis, his armor scarred and drenched in Tyranid ichor. Still pulsed faintly with that impossible golden light, steady, unwavering, like the beat of a divine heart. Even among the Ultramarines, known for their restraint, a quiet reverence spread. Captain Althains himself supervised the transport, his expression unreadable beneath the ceramite helm. Inquisitor Varen of the Ordo Hereticus stood near the fallen with a retinue of Sergal skulls and rogue acolytes, his mechanical eye narrowing as he studied the readings from a hovering auspex.
The energy signature. What resonance of frequencies, unseen outside the eye itself. And yet, no taint.
Because he is not tainted. You saw the feather through the Acadian's visor scans. You saw what it did.
Baron's gaze did not move from the display.
Miracles and mutations both wear masks, Captain. Only one serves the Emperor.
The Acadians gathered behind their wounded, refusing to yield him to the code authority of the Inquisition without witness. They had seen him fight, bleed, and nearly die for them. Whatever corruption the Inquisition feared, the soldiers of Cadia saw none. When a Thunderhawk ascended through the storm clouds, it carried not merely a wounded Astartes, but an argument incarnate. The Emperor's light and the legacy of betrayal, bound within one vessel of flesh and steel. Praxis's body was transferred to the Inquisitional strike cruiser of Sea and Oath, its hull lined with psychic wards and no-field generators, humming in solemn litany. Magos Etherian of the Adeptus Mechanicus began the analysis at once, mechadendrites whispering across cognator panels. Auspex readouts scrolled across glowing screens, patterns of gene seed resonance displayed in streams of red and gold. Then the reading stabilized, and the chamber fell silent.
By the Omniscience. Confirmed helix pattern. Warhound. No. World Eater. Marked deviations of pre-heresy vintage, and yet, sequence is uncorrupted. Completely uncorrupted.
The words struck the gathered observers like thunder. Baron's hand tightened around his cane.
A World Eater. Then our doubts are confirmed.
Are they?
Althains countered from across the chamber.
If his lineage is damned, then what purged the corruption? The Emperor himself does not grant false light, Inquisitor.
The golden feather, still bound within the folds of Hadrian's scarf at Praxis' chest, glowed faintly, a gentle post that silenced further debate. Tech adepts nearby crossed themselves uncautiously. Others failed to whisper litanies. The readings from the relic overwhelmed their sensors, flooding them with signatures identical to those cataloged from the Astronomicon itself. Farron stepped closer to the containment pod, his voice not quieter, though edged with suspicion still.
No corruption, no demonic residue, no psychic instability beyond containment parameters. And yet, a son of Angron lies before us, sleeping beneath the Emperor's light. Tell me, Captain, what is he?
Aldain's answer was simple.
He is proof.
The chamber fell silent once more, the hum of the stasis field echoing like a heartbeat in the dark. Praxis lay dormant, his heart beating in calm, steady rhythm, a tranquil defiance of the rage bred to his lineage. Despite the restraints locking his armor-clad frame, he made no effort to struggle. There was no resistance, no fear, only expectation. When consciousness returned, he awoke to the sterile brilliance of an inquisitorial hold. Circle swirls drifted in precise orbits, their limbs wearing, scanners humming as they swept over his form. Rooms flickered on the interrogation dais, confirming what few dared to whisper aloud. Gene Seed origin, Legion 12, World Eaters. The murmurs along the attending acolytes were sharp, uneasy. Then the room fell silent as a tall figure entered, his presence radiating authority like a cold flame.
Inquisitor Varen, Ordo Hereticus. Praxis, the Kyries below call you a survivor, a claim most improbable, and yet your blood tells another story.
Praxis met the Inquisitor's gaze with calm resolve.
You are correct to doubt me, Inquisitor Varen. I would do no less in your place.
Your gene seed is of the Butcher's sons, Angron's line. There could be no trust in that blood. Speak. Why should you not be purged where you sit?
Because my will is not my father's, nor the Warp's. My purpose, Inquisitor, is to destroy the enemies of mankind. For the Emperor and for those who yet live under his light.
You admit your heresy, yet claim redemption, as though your past could be forgotten.
I cannot agree more, which is why I've returned to serve my penance, to protect mankind until my end. Your doctrine forbids belief in words alone. Then judge me by my deeds.
Interesting. You speak of penance, yet the evidence suggests an impossibility. The destruction of an entire Tyranid fleet by a single warrior. Explain.
I do not know how. Only that I was dying, and that I was not. A power surged through me. Light. Warmth, unlike anything I have ever felt. The swarm broke, then I survived.
The Inquisitor's servitors hissed streams of data.
No corruption detected. No demonic resonance. Warp purity. Stable.
A miracle.
Baron's gaze cut through the speaker, silencing them.
A world eater without corruption. An absurdity. And yet here you stand.
A voice from the chamber's edge interrupted him, calm, tempered, but resolute.
Permission to speak.
Baron turned slightly.
Permission granted, Captain Aldains.
Aldain stepped forward, his posture noble and unwavering.
Praxis, you claim faith and loyalty, yet you wield powers that not even librarians can divide. Tell me, what drives you to continue this war?
Praxis regarded him carefully, the tone of his voice reverent.
A message, Captain. One carried not by word, but by truth. A relic, pure and incorruptible, came to me amidst the warp storm. A feather, radiant and golden, the Emperor's own sign. My purpose was made clear, to stand against anything that threatens mankind, no matter its form.
Baron gestured to the containment field nearby. Suspended in stasis, the golden feather shivered faintly, its light casting long, sanctified shadows across the chamber. Even the battle-hardened Ultramarine was momentarily silent. Praxis spoke again, softly.
Captain, the Acadians, did they survive?
Alphane's expression shifted, not pity, but respect.
They did. Many wounded but alive. They spoke of you as one of their own, but the angel who stood beside them. Good. Then their fight was not wasted.
Compassion from a son of Angron. Curious.
Compassion perhaps, but also remembrance. Because I remember what it means to be human.
Baron's silence lingered before he turned to Alphonse.
No trace of corruption, no psychic instability, and yet his power defies Imperial classification. His Jimsi, however, is still that of a traitor legion.
The relic's energy signature matches recorded traces of the Emperor's own psychic resonance. That cannot be ignored.
Then he lives, from now, until Lord Guilliman himself gives judgment. Escort him to containment. Deck 3. He remains under constant surveillance.
Praxis rose as the restraint disengaged. He did not resist the escort's approach. As he passed Baron and Alphonse, the Inquisitor's voice followed him. Cold, deliberate, yet not entirely certain.
You claim the Emperor spared you, World Eater. We will learn in time whether he intended you to live, or merely to serve as a warning.
The chamber doors sealed behind him, leaving only the feather's quiet radiance pulsing within the silence. After the interrogation chamber dimmed and its attendants dispersed, stasis field that held the golden feather pulsed faintly, as though breathing. The servitor stationed nearby registered an anomaly, attempting to reinforce the containment seals. A soft hum filled the air, that of machinery, but of something alive. The feather's radiance brightened to a blinding gold, rooms across the containment field shorting out in a flash of harmless light. The relic drifted upward, weightless, before vanishing in a swirl of faint motes, as if pulled towards something unseen. On a separate deck, within his containment cell, Praxis stirred. The faintest shimmer of light rippled across the fabric of the scarf around his neck, followed by the subtle warmth of returning familiarity. The feather had come back to him, not by warp signature, nor by summoning, but by its own will. The observation servo schools recorded the event in silent confusion, unable to categorize the phenomenon. The inquisitorial sigil on their casings flickered with error code runes. Inquisitor Varen was notified immediately. When he arrived, he found Captain Althings already present, observing the feats with arms crossed and a rare glimmer of restrained awe on his face.
A feather has chosen.
Relics do not choose, Captain. They are conduits, artifacts, not living beings.
And yet, the relic returned to him unbidden, as if guided. That is no coincidence.
Baron's gaze shifted to the hololithic feed showing Praxis seated within his containment cell, motionless, meditating, his hands resting over his knees, the scarf around his neck faintly glowing.
If this feather bears the Emperor's resonance, then its will may defy even mine. Still, I will not let faith blind me to danger.
Faith is why we endure.
The two men locked eyes. Ultramarine pragmatism versus inquisitorial doctrine.
Admiration borders on naivety, Captain. He bears Angron's deed, a lineage steeped in madness and betrayal. No amount of miracles can erase that.
And yet, Inquisitor, he bears no corruption. None. You saw the scans. You saw the feather's light. The Emperor's wheel does not make mistakes. You question a miracle because it disobeys your expectation, not because it lacks truth.
You would risk an entire vessel based on faith alone.
I would risk it for proof. Because if he truly acts as the Emperor's instrument, then what you see as heresy may be the Emperor's own design.
Baron paused. His hand lingered near the edge of a data slate, filled with reports from Cadia's survivors, every one of them attesting to Praxis's valor, his refusal to abandon them, his reverence for the Emperor. The Baron read it again before closing the slate. His tone softened slightly.
I will continue my observations. Guilliman will judge this matter in time.
He turned to leave, then hesitated, glancing once more at the image of Praxis. Calm still, a faint glow of the feather pulsing at his heart.
Tell me, Captain Althanes, if this warrior is truly the Emperor's instrument, what does that make the rest of us?
Althanes did not answer at first.
It makes us witnesses. And it means the Emperor still speaks. Even if we've forgotten how to listen.
And that is where we will leave it, for now. Praxis was found by Laraxi, and the Emperor himself gave him the second chance he never thought a Trajan Astartes would ever be graced with. Though Praxis was no longer a traitor when he was resurrected. Thank you for listening and watching the first 4 chapters of the first book of the Warpwalker Origins. There are 4 more chapters left, but we will save that for another day. If this story so far has intrigued you, or you just wish to see more, please feel free to subscribe and like this video. The support helps me a lot. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.